Stratford District Council, Councillor Kate Rolfe. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I ask you to remain standing while I ask my friend and chaplain to the District Council, Dr. Paul Edmondson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So hands up who went... Sorry, Executive Director. Hands up who went to the mop. Okay. Keep your hands up if you went on any rides. Keep your hands up if you went on the Dodgems twice. Keep your hands up if you went on the carousel once. Although I've lived in Stratford-upon-Avon for 30 years, I saw the mop differently this time. I took part in the civic opening of it, attended the auctioning at the pig roast, where, by time-honoured tradition, the town council and the district council and the owners of the mop bid a 3-figure sum for a pork bab. The whole thing is rigged, of course. It's part of the theatre of the mop. Each party knows what they'll be spending, and the money goes to the local Boy Scouts. Then I was able to tag along with the civic party, Mr. and Mrs. Wilson, who run the mop, and some young families. We were led wherever the children wanted to go. If they wanted to go on a ride or hook a duck, then they could, free of charge. If they felt like candy floss or cinder toffee or brandy snap or toffee apples, that was fine too. I saw people being spun around on the waltzers and spun around on many other rides. No vortex for me. And I saw Madam Chair win the derby as jockey number 5. Her prize was a silver-furred teddy bear wearing a lilac bobble hat. I've got photographic evidence. Throughout, I learnt more about the mop and how it's run. I felt respect for the people who run the rides and the stalls and the Wilsons who own it. Everyone's safety is their first priority. It was touching, as we walked through the mop, to see the small children close to the mayor, catching her attention by occasionally tugging at her robe of office. I couldn't help seeing this through a Jewish Christian lens, and I was reminded of that verse in Isaiah that we often hear at Christmas time, "And a little child shall lead them." It's possible, isn't it, to be wide-eyed and childlike even when you're looking at something that seems very familiar. Now, I'm sure this is a good thing for people in public and civic office to experience at least once a year at the mop, and hopefully more often in other contexts. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Have a good meeting, all of you.
Thank you. Please be seated. I declare this meeting of Council open. Welcome to the full Council meeting. There are no planned fire alarms scheduled at this time, therefore, should the fire alarm go off, please make your way out of the building via the nearest fire exit to the car park beside the Windmill Public House. Councillors, when addressing the meeting, please stand and ensure your microphone is switched on and that you speak directly into the microphone so that when it is picked up via the live audio feed. When you have finished addressing the meeting, please turn off your microphone immediately. Please do not move the microphone from its set position, and when speaking, ensure the microphone is directly in front of you and not to the side or high up. Item 1, apologies for absence. David, are there any apologies for absence?
Thank you, Chair. Yes. We have apologies from Councillor Jenny Fradgley, Tony Bromwich, David Curtis, Neil Eden, Chris Mills, Nigel Rock, Ian Shenton and Lauren Stanley. Councillor Skinner, I received a resignation from Councillor Skinner on Friday last week, and therefore Councillor Skinner is no longer a member of the Council. We're in the process of making arrangements for a by-election in the near future. Thank you.
And I would like to, on behalf of the Council, send our good wishes to Councillor Chris Mills. I believe he's been taken rather poorly. So our good wishes go to him. Thank you. Item 2, declarations of interest. May I hand over to Marcia, please?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. Just regarding dispensations specifically, as you know, dispensations are normally considered where the business of the council cannot continue unless the council is quorate. I've not been advised today of any of the items of the agenda meeting that criteria. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Petrovich.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to declare interest on items 8, 9.6 and 12.3 and 4 as those relate to some of the areas of work that I am working on as a senior caseworker for the Office of the MP, Manuel Petegala. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other declarations of interest in the room? Thank you. Item 3, minutes. I now seek a proposer and seconder for the minutes of the meeting held on the 14th of July. May I have a proposer? Councillor Alcock.
Thank you. I'd like to propose these minutes accepted. Thank you.
Thank you. And do I have a seconder? Councillor Johnson.
Can I second that, please?
Thank you. All those agreed on the minutes? Thank you very much. Item 4, announcements. I think you'll soon be seeing some events that I have attended as your chair on the screen. I can't see them. Can they be played? We'll just wait a couple of minutes. Are they going to? Yes, play. I won't talk about all of them as they run through. You will probably see evidence of me dressing up. Don't normally dress up, but there are 2 occasions where I did dress up. One was to dress up as a Morris man and do some Morris dancing, which was absolutely fabulous. And the other one is I attended the, oh, there I am as a Morris person. And I attended the Dragon Boat Race in aid of the Shakespeare Hospice. And I just happened to have in my cupboard a dragon outfit, you know, as you do. So I did dress up as a dragon and probably scared a few children along the way. My most cherished one is on your screen now, which is meeting the lovely Hannah Hampton, who is the goalkeeper for the England football team and saved 2 very, very, very essential penalties, which gave us the winning score, and we won. And she comes from Studley, and Councillor Eden was able to get a little interview between myself and my 2 granddaughters, who was super, super excited about meeting her. She's an adorable young woman, so unassuming and so lithe and gorgeous, and you think, how does she save those balls in goal? But she was just lovely, and she actually was booked from 4 o'clock till 6 to meet people in Studley, and she stayed until 9, and there was still a 1/4 mile queue outside of people to see her. And she went out and apologised because she hadn't eaten and she needed to eat. So fair play to her, she was fabulous. And as Dr. Paul Edmondson mentioned earlier, I had the pleasure of opening the MOP which really is just such a special day. You know, it is. I know there's often criticism about the mop and the road closures, etc. But unless you've been and the weather is good and just walked round, you won't know what I'm talking about. It's fabulous, really fabulous. And so thank you to the Wilson family for holding it. They also give me a very, very, very generous donation to my charity, which is very good. Thank you. And so on that note, are there any more pictures of me dressing up, Olivia? No? No. Okay. Thank you. That was the half-term week when I looked after my granddaughter, so they came everywhere with me, which was really lovely. Thank you. I'm now going to move on to any comments from the leader, Councillor Susan Junod. Thank you.
I hope you'll bear with me on what I want to say, because it's something that I feel is very close to my heart. This week marks National Hate Crime Awareness Week, and I've been notified that a coalition of more than 150 charities, including Age UK and Citizen Advice, who've written to the Prime Minister drawing attention to the marked deterioration in civil debate in this country. They've urged him to challenge the targeting of civil society organisations by those seeking to stoke division for political gain in local communities. Can I just say that as a district council, we also have a contribution to make to Hate Crime Awareness Week. So can I call on us all, individuals, organisation and ourselves as political leaders, to stand up against hate and intolerance and support those affected and help to build a society where everyone can live free from fear, prejudice and discrimination. And the other area where I would like to just kind of draw attention to international affairs is last week was October the 7th. We marked the start of 2 years of war between Israel and Gaza, in Gaza, and it started with the Hamas attacks. The retribution in Israel has resulted in thousands of civilian deaths in Gaza. But today we saw the release of the first hostages, and we may be seeing the beginning of the end, and I sincerely hope so. Recovery, though, will be long and difficult, and will require commitment and support from the international community, which I support. And just to let you know that I support, in a personal capacity, a lot of organisations that give support to people in those kind of conditions. And I do hope you will join with me and give them the support as well. There is, across the world, a great need, not just in this part of the world, but in other parts of the world, a great need for help for people that are that's suffering the effects of war. So it's personal. It's personal to me, but I do hope you'll give me your tolerance on mentioning those issues that I feel so strongly about. Thank you.
Thank you, Leader. I now move on to Chief Executive David Buckland to make any announcements.
Thank you, Chair. Just an administrative one from me, thank you. As a typo has identified itself today, on item 12 of the agenda, the third motion that will be debated today in relation to the 5-year housing and land supply, paragraph 3, second line, we're not going to be talking the issue, we're tackling the issue. So yeah, it's a typographical issue that'll be picked up later. Thank you.
Thank you, Leader. Item 5, public participation. In accordance with the Council's constitution, questions may only be asked when received by the head of paid service 2 clear days before the day of the meeting. Item 5 on the agenda states that currently we have 5 questions from the public. I will ask one by one those that have asked the question to come forward if they have a supplementary question. So the first question is from Brenda Stewart. Would you like to come forward, please, to the microphone and press the red button on your right-hand side?
Is it best if I stand up? Can I sit down?
That's fine. Do whatever you like.
Okay.
That's fine.
Okay, so first I'll read my question out, yeah.
You may read your question out, but you've received the answer to the question, haven't you?
Just very lately, yes, I've got it on my
Okay.
phone.
It's up to you if you'd like to have a supplementary question
so
on the answer.
Am I supposed to read my question out first? Or is that... No.
Entirely up to you.
Well, actually, I think I quite might like to, if that's all
That's
right.
absolutely fine.
Okay. Let's see. Stratford District Council declared a climate emergency, but still greenhouse gases continue to rise rapidly, and there's now widespread concern among the public that not enough's being done and that we're running out of time to prevent very damaging and escalating climate effects. In view of this, surely the SDC should be putting more resources into helping people and local businesses to move to more sustainable lifestyles with less reliance on petrol and diesel vehicles. I am asking for more climate change officers to be appointed with clear, attainable goals that are communicated plainly to the general public. There are many local people who would love to give input into what could be achieved, perhaps at some sort of forum arranged by the council.
Thank you. You have received a response.
Yes.
Do you have a supplementary question to answer?
Yes.
Susan Juno.
I have received the response, and I would like to ask a
Please do.
supplementary.
Do go ahead.
Okay. Let's see. About the more climate change officers, I wasn't quite clear if that would be possible, whether you're going to be able to do that. I had heard that Warwick have got more climate change, more human resources devoted to climate change, and as Stratford is such a much bigger area, I was thinking that really should be quite high on the agenda here, and maybe that should be done. More officers to make sure that not just more is done, but also that the communication to people in the public. I mean, I'm just an ordinary member of the public, and I know in the answer there is a lot of things that are being done by the council, but I don't have a sort of place I can go and see, oh yeah, they've done that and they're doing this, and I don't have a clear place to get that information. I know it's out there, but it's actually in sort of places that are quite difficult to draw together, especially, you know, over the last 2 years where you've been in power. And in view of the sort of threat from reform, I feel that the trouble is, we ordinary people who care about climate change need to know what your council is doing so that we know to vote for you next time.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but could you come to the question, please, that you were asking?
Okay, that is, well, my question was, can we have more officers? And this is why I asked that. And I don't think I got a clear reply to that. And the other thing is that I was told there would be a forum arranged, and presumably for members of the public, and I'd just like to know when that might be, if it will be open to everybody, would it be advertised so that people like me who aren't in particular different groups will get to hear about it. I don't feel, as a sort of member of the public in Stratford, I know where to go for information that, you know...
I'm really sorry. You've had your 3 minutes now. I do apologise, but I will ask Susan Juno to respond to your second question. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for... Oh, thank you very much for your question. It's something that is also, I feel very strongly about. I've been working in the area of climate change, renewables, sustainable strategy, climate change, this whole area for 35 years. It was my professional background, and it's something that I have driven forward on. It is not just that we should have a dedicated climate change officers. It means that every single council officer should have climate change as part of their DNA in everything they do. One of the things that is being undertaken here, we have now 2 officers that are dedicated to climate change, but we are also doing carbon literacy training, and so far 40 members of staff are going to be trained on the carbon literacy training. It means that in my professional life, one of the things that I did the Climate Engagement Action Plan for Warwick District Council. I was part of that team that did it. And one of the things that I drew attention to in that was that you have to have this embedded. So, for example, your planning officers need to be aware of climate change, because a lot of the delivery of climate change comes under the area of planning. For example, they work with others outside the organisations. For example, it was Stratford District Council that 25 years ago set up Act on Energy to do energy efficiency advice to members of the public. That the District Council still supports that kind of work. We can do things within our own organisation, but we must also engage outside the organisation with every body that we come across, every organisation, every part of local government, business and other organisations to make sure that climate change is embedded. And finally, just to, because I'm also limited on time, is that this does not end here. I moved the notice of motion on climate change 6 years ago, and we have been working steadily going forward. But we will have a forum, a community forum, which will invite people, because one of the things I feel very strongly about, and you have mentioned it, is that we need to communicate and we need to tell people about what we're doing. We need, for example, every one of those people that have organisations that have received grants under the Community Climate Change and Nature Fund must come and be able to tell people about the work they've done and the outputs of the work they've done. It is communication, communication, communication.
Thank you. And just to add that once the community forum is set up, we will let you know. Okay, and invite you along. Thank you. Question 2 is from Steve Moforth. Please come forward. Hi, Steve. Do you want to read out your question, or do you want a supplementary question? Could you turn your microphone?
Got it. Yeah. So I won't refer to the first 2 paragraphs of my question, just to the third, which is the most relevant. Thank you, Councillor Junid, for your response to my question. Unfortunately, I don't think it really answers my specific question, which was, would the council please hold an open meeting sometime in the next 2 to 3 months for interested councillors and members of the public to consider the research and to hear the evidence from Shared Future, which is one of the leading organisations in running climate assemblies and participatory budgeting in the UK. Thank you for your reference to the forthcoming climate forum. I'm not sure that exactly responds to my question. So,
as somebody that is aware of all the work, say I have worked professionally in this field for a long time. One of the key parts going forward is local government reorganisation. Depending on the government outcome of the decision, we will have some difficult decisions to make. If we get the decision on the north-south, unitaries, one of the things that will come is bringing together certain aspects of what those things that are now with the county council, such as transport, and some of the aspects that the district council looks at, which is planning and environmental considerations as well. That could be a very key area. And that's only one example of bringing there could be a very, very key area where we will have to engage with members of the public, where the members of the public's decision and input could be absolutely crucial to the vision of the future and what decisions and actions we will take forward in that new scenario. I feel as a professional that that will be a crucial time when we can get some real change and real vision into changing things and making things different. I would like to do this kind of work at a time when we really can make that kind of difference. And that this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And I hope you will bear with me that this is what I'm working on. That this is a as I say, a lifetime chain, where we can bring a lot of things together. And that may be the time when we really can start working on these with not just... If we work on things and don't get results, it's not what I want. I want to work on things at a time when we can get results, and that is my ambition.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Question 3, Stephen Norrie. Stephen, would you like to come forward? Do you want to read your question out, or do you want to just respond to the response from Susan Junod?
If that's okay. I am on, good. So for the benefit of those who haven't read the question is about transport hierarchies, the principle that active travel and public transport should be favoured in council infrastructure decisions over road building. I suggested that the South Warwickshire local plan does not include such a hierarchy. Susan has responded with quite a long response, which was, in many respects good, saying that it is in there in a couple of points. It is true that it is implicit in some of the content, but I think looking at the South Warwickshire local plan, the best chapter of that, the most recent consultation document was chapter 7 on a climate resilient and net zero South Warwickshire. It was about 30 pages long. It was full of information about best practice, standards, procedures, stages that should be gone through, and so on, detailed justifications of policies. It was very good, and I learned a lot about it. The chapter on transport is 7 pages, and it doesn't really have much of that. The points that Susan responds to, it says that the council is supporting a modal shift towards active and public transport systems. Well, great, but how does one do that? The draft policy direction 31 that she mentions seems to be directed chiefly at developers and the planning process. And
Stephen, can I push you for a question, please?
The question is coming up. In fact, the question is going to be, will the council develop the South Warwickshire local plan to include the comments I've just made? So it's relevant that I'm making these comments. The draft policy direction is directed chiefly at developers and doesn't seem to cover all council decisions, such as that to be considered today over support for the railway reinstatement. There's nothing on dynamics of induced road travel, for instance, which I've talked to the council about before. The kinds of things that are really relevant to all infrastructure decisions, that the equivalent points are there in chapter 7. So, yeah, my question is, and stands, will the council expand that section on transport to include a fuller and more adequate treatment of the theory behind sustainable transport, such as would apply to the decision before you today on the reinstatement of the railway?
Thank you. Councillor Junod.
The South Warwickshire Local Plan is an ongoing plan that will require a lot of work. And the one report that has already come to the South Warwickshire Local Plan was the climate change report part 1. But there is a part 2 to come, and that is being undertaken. As I mentioned before, we have this once in a lifetime opportunity, I believe, that about a new unitary where we can bring transport and the functions of the district council together. I hope that at that time we will get the right decision from government, and we would also need to make sure that government is listening to some of the other actions that we and information that we will be giving to them. Because, for example, we want to make sure that we are able to utilise brownfield sites, for example, rather than greenfield sites for development, but that will need government infrastructure work putting into that one. We do need to get a very reasoned, rationed debate and information and report together to be able to put to government to be able to seek some of that. But the South Warwickshire local plan does have a lot of work already in there, but there is more work to come. It is not a finished deal. It has a long way to go. And I say that once the Part 2 report is and other transport work is put into there, then I do hope you get the chance to come back to me.
Thank you. Question 4, Janine Lee, would you like to come forward? Hello, Janine. Do you want to read your question out, or do you want?
It's only short.
Sorry,
I would like to.
that's absolutely no problem.
yes.
Please do.
I'm the leader of the joint campaign to fight the swamp for the BW site. The A3400 between the Bishopton roundabout and the centre of Stratford is already at breaking point. Local forums, letters to the press and recent news reports all tell the same story. Congestion, chaos, long delays and safety issues. Yet, the South Warwickshire local plan proposes to add a further 12,000 vehicle movements. That's a very conservative estimate based on 1.2 vehicles per household. It doesn't actually calculate all the delivery vans, etc., that will be going onto that site. Adding that to the 10,000 already using that stretch every day, making a total of 22,000 vehicles, more than double the amount using it at the moment. This road is gridlocked now, so my question is this, it's simple. How can you possibly justify adding even more traffic to a network that clearly cannot cope? And can you explain exactly how this is supposed to work in practice? Now, you've said that you're working with the County Council and the Highways Authority. That's all well and good, but I fail to understand how the BW site has got to this stage when there have been no solid proposals established for the road infrastructure. It's like putting the cart before the horse. A bit like the Long Marston site, really. You know, another £250,000 spent on another feasibility study because the road's inadequate there. These things need to be formed before the plan goes ahead. So my question is, when is this traffic issue going to be resolved? And when will we be informed about exactly what is happening? And I state again, how it's going to work in practice.
Thank you. I'll ask Councillor George Coucher to respond.
Thank you very much for this. I'm on now. Thank you very much for this question. Clearly, obviously, we are, as a district, being forced to take very large amounts of housing development. And one of the things which this council, and indeed our colleagues in Warwick, because it's a joint plan between ourselves and Warwick District, are absolutely determined is to make sure that we get the infrastructure that we need to support development. Clearly, obviously, Bearley-Wilmcote is one of a number of sites for potentially a new settlement. Members of the advisory group, I think, viewed those sites last week, which was very, very interesting indeed. Clearly, in relation to transport, road access is extremely important. We will be working closely with the Warwickshire County Council and also the Highways Agency, because the A34 is a trunk road as well, which also passes this potential site. We are not in a position yet to say how that infrastructure is going to potentially serve those sites. That evidence is still awaited, because this is a working document that we're working on at the moment. We are hopeful that we will be able to be producing proposals for further public consultation in the early part of the new year. And that's the timescale that we're working to at the moment.
Thank you. And our final question comes from Guy Esnov. Would you like to read your question out as well, Guy?
If I may just summarise it rather than reading, but before I do, and in the light of the comments about the nature of public discourse, can I just say, look, we may be campaigning against something that you need to drive forward, but we really do appreciate the difficult position you are all in. It's not you have created that situation, so our heartfelt concern goes out with the problems that this is. My question was about there being roughly 46,000 spaces for houses not on greenbelt sites in the plan at the moment, and yet I think you only need 28,000. Surely that means you don't need any greenbelt site at all. George, thank you for your reply, and said you would obviously have to follow the NPPF guidelines, but also need to balance sustainability and greenbelt. I'm afraid you might excuse scepticism on sustainability, given the Bailey-Wilmcote site was put forward going against its sustainability advisors, but hey, what do I know? And of course, we will watch very carefully on the MPPF. You've answered my first point already, and thank you for that, about the likely timing of the next stage. But you said that there would be a Greenbelt review. Some of the problem with the South Warwickshire local plan material already is that it's desk-based, high level, and really doesn't understand the area, like saying there's a train line from Bearley to Birmingham. There isn't. Would you involve the parishes, the parish councils, in that Greenbelt review to ensure that really local knowledge and local awareness is taken into account? Thank you.
Councillor Coucher.
The Greenbelt review is being undertaken by consultants for us against a brief that we have issued, and takes into account the latest planning policy guidance that we have from government, where we're obviously identifying grey belt, which is this new designation, but also looking at the appropriateness of the current green belt boundaries. It may be that we want to extend the green belt to a wider area. In terms of involving, that will be part of the preferred plan, hopefully, that will be published in the very early part of next year. And at that stage, clearly, there will be full consultation and engagement with parish councils. What I'm currently doing at the moment is, as portfolio holder, I'm meeting all colleagues on this council who have potential growth areas and indeed new settlements in their wards, and they are feeding back to me, and certainly feeding back to officers, particularly individual issues of concern. I'm meeting my two fellow councillors from Wellesbourne later this week, just to consider growth options there. So there is a lot of consultation involved here, and every opportunity, I think, for you to, or for all parishes and towns to feed back directly at this point in time through their ward members.
Thank you. We'll take that.
Thank you, and thank you for your questions, and you are more than welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting if you wish to do so. Thank you. Item 6, the state of the district. I invite the monitoring officer to advise the rules of debate.
Thank you, Chair. Do you mind if I remain seated, because I've got to refer to the Constitution?
It's fine, absolutely fine.
Thank you, Chair. So regarding the state of the district debate, the leader sets the format of the debate, but of course the Chair of Council manages the debate, which is as per the Council Procedure Rules at para 16 of the Council Procedure Rules. So the Chair has asked, in terms of the format then, that the item lasts no longer than an hour, and that the leader will open with a 10-minute address on the report, which you all have, and thereafter the main opposition party leader will respond in a 5-minute address thereafter. And then the normal rules of the debate will apply, and that will be obviously managed by the chair, but no more than 3 minutes per councillor. There will then be closing comments from the leader before then moving on to the next agenda item in the usual way. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I invite Councillor Juned, the leader of the council, to introduce this report. Thank you.
And thank you. This is an annual State of the District that the District Council does every single year. There are two parts to it. One is the statistics about the people who live in the district, the number, the houses that there are in the district, the just general information about those residents that we represent. And the reason for that is that it's meant to be able to, so that we can take account of our residents and their needs and be able to look at it and look at the policy that we need to develop. It also informs us when we're in talks with our partners about the needs of our district. Just to let you know on that first part, a few other statistics, and then I'll move on to the second part. The population of the district increased by 19.74% between 2012 to 2024. It was the 8th highest growth of all local authorities in England, but we are still in the 20% least densely populated. We are heavily weighted towards the higher, older age groups. 47% is age 50 and over 65s cover just over 25%, and we are the 49th oldest authority in England and Wales. Our population is predicted to grow by 17.4% by 2034. Most of the housing in this district is owned or mortgaged, but there is only 13.2% that are on social rent. And compare this to 14.1% who are in private rent. And that raises an issue that we ought to take account of. Our house prices are above the median. We've got the 3rd highest rents in West Midlands, which is actually a slight improvement over last year, but still not good. 1,011 new dwellings were added in 23 to 24, which was 138% of the target set by the last core strategy. And that was part of the argument that we used about the oversupply of housing in this district, which was set aside by the recent appeal. We have in health, and this is again something that we might need to come back to on our vision for the unitary authority of the future. We are in health mostly better than the West Midlands average, but we still have 62.5% of adults classed as overweight or obese. 21.4% 4 to 5-year-olds are overweight or obese. We also have a dementia diagnosis that 48.8% are underdiagnosed, one of the worst rates in the whole region. We have fuel poverty that has improved from last year, but still needs to be addressed. We have claimant counts. We have people who are having a universal credit but are in employment. We also have figures in there about our economic basis. Tourism is 17% of jobs. It names the number of micro businesses which are in the majority. And it also talks about the survival rates of small businesses and the highest number of where those highest numbers of jobs are. The highest numbers are in professional, scientific and technical services. So that kind of paints a picture of our district. The second part of it mentions the council plan, and it mentions the corporate peer challenge of the local government association that came and gave their review of the change in administration. And that is in paragraphs 10.5 to 10.7, and it was a good review. It named, in the state of the district, it named the fact that the citizens panel has been strengthened And those are residents that are, receive our annual invite, regular invite to respond to consultation and surveys. The parish forum has been implemented. There's been a new communication strategy, and it mentions local government reorganisation, which we know has a lot of work attached to it. I would like to draw your attention to 10.18, pages 44 to 45, and then again to 46 to 47 pages, which gives the list of achievements of this district and also further progress points that this district has achieved. It does name a considerable amount of achievement against the local plan and using the kind of funding that this district council has been able to bring into the area. How we've spent our UK Shared Prosperity Fund in economic terms, how we've used other funds that have come in, particularly those funds that have come in for to address at the heating and the energy efficiency of homes for those that have the most are in the most difficulty. It is something that I do hope that you will take away and look at some of the achievements that are in there, because we do have sometimes take a lot of flack for those things that are not achieved. But when you look at the amount of achievement, and when I want to finalise, and I'm not sure how I'm doing on time, but when we come to come to the end of this debate, one of the things that I would particularly like to do is to be able to thank not only the Melanie Jeffries and Simon Perfield, who are the officers who have brought together all this data, but every single officer in this council that has done the kind of work that has been done over the years. All those actions against the council plan, all the things that we've done with the funding that has come into this council, none of it would be able to be done without the hard work of a lot of officers within the area. I do hope you will look at those achievements and celebrate them because this is something we do need to recognise that the work that has been done. And one of the personal things that I would like to say is I want to say thank you also, not only to the council, the parish councils that are taking part in our forums, but every single organisation that has received grants under the Community Climate Change and Nature Fund, for example, which was only a small amount of money, but the immense results that have come from that in every single one right across our district. Every single organisation that received money under the UK Shared Prosperity Fund and managed to benefit from it, the kind of work that went on, the kind of support that we've had from the communities. And I'd also like to say thank you to every single one of those people that have signed up to either the Parish and Partners Briefing, which is the parish councils, the environmental newsletter, or the app that's on your phone that tells you about your waste recycling, but also tells you about details of your councillors and the news about what the district council is doing. Please promote all the good work that is being done by this council, and I look forward to the questions.
Councillor Dewled, would you like to move the recommendation, please?
I'd like to move the state of the district, the recommendation on in the district council council papers.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do I have a seconder, please? Councillor Coucher. Councillor Coucher, do you want to reserve your right to speak?
Yes, I would.
Thank you. May I ask Councillor Darren Pemberton, please?
Thank you, Chair. And before my 5 minutes starts, I'd just like to take the leader back to her announcements, particularly around National Hate Crime Awareness Week. And we all must play our role. We should, pardon the sort of pun, play the ball, not the man or the woman or whatever. We should debate the issues. We should not do anything that others, different groups, that makes us point to our residents and show what they should be afraid of. We should be, as Michelle Obama said, When they go low, we go high. And so I just want to agree with everything that the leader has had to say about that. And also on the question of the news around the Middle East this week, over this weekend, we can only hope that it is clearly good news today for those families, for hostages, for others being released. But we have to hope and pray that this will be the start of a journey towards peace. So again, just taking the unusual step of just wanting to comment on those things before I start. And I do now start, and I again associate myself and fully agree with the leader's comments about the quality of our officers, the quality of the report that's been produced. There's always a but with the opposition. I might make the observation that they've managed to make a silk purse out of something else. So thank you for your statement. In politics, as in many walks of life, it's crucial to answer the so what question. For our residents, this would be phrased as, so what does this state of the district report really mean in terms of making a tangible difference in my life and to that of my family and loved ones? And on this side of the chamber, our view is that the state of the district report is so lamentably thin on actions and outcomes that it doesn't even meet the so what threshold. Residents might more pointedly ask, is that it? The report is 38 pages, and a lot of it is data, to the extent that there are only 4 pages covering this administration's achievements over the last 12 months. The data covers and provides a snapshot, as the leader says, of areas around demographics, deprivation, access to housing, health inequality, and the crime and the economic outlook compared with last year. But you would be hard-pressed to align the administration's achievements with addressing these challenges. Indeed, looking at the administration's previous 2 State of the District reports, there's a marked trend of diminishing actions and ambitions. When elected, it did so on a platform of real change and making people's lives better. Now, at the halfway stage in their term, we see what they've actually achieved for the districts. Residents can hardly point to a step change they promised everyone. Much is just a continuation of Conservative policies, the 1-2-3 scheme, support for U-Bus and developing the South Warwickshire local plan. On climate change, today we've heard the public ask questions because they don't know what's being achieved. If you're not actually getting the answers out there, you're not achieving anything. So it's measurable actions that are needed, not just communication. But let's look at some specifics. Affordable housing and cost of living. In the last 12 years, 33% of affordable housing has been achieved against a target of 35%, putting this authority almost at the top in England of performance around affordable housing versus Birmingham's 10 to 12%. But where are the additional affordable homes over and above those that were already planned, that were promised? None. Where are the extra empty homes that have been brought back into use over and above the trend line of the last few years? Answer, none. Where have residents seen direct financial improvements in their lives through the use of the cost of living budget, which was set up by the Conservatives with the aim of using it for the kind of direct payment transfer scheme that has been so successful around the country? None. All they've done is employ bureaucrats to give advice. Well, you can't pay the electricity bill with advice. You can't buy an energy-efficient washing machine with advice. Money that's gone to residents has been through the distribution of grants, not by proactive work by this administration. So let's look at key achievements. Stratford Council achieves 50 years. It's not an achievement, that's one heartbeat after another. Distribution of HMB grants, UK Shared Prosperity. That is distributing and making choices, but it's not proactive, it's reactive. In the absence of those grants, what would have changed? E-cargo bikes get mentioned every year. They've made more comebacks in this report than Frank Sinatra. I'm looking forward to e-bikes. The one in Elizabeth House probably needs an MOT by now, being painted yellow for next year's achievement to be a rebranding of e-bikes. For those of you with long memories, they came out of a successful bid by the Conservatives. But that's not up to date. U-Bus, a good decision, but an achievement to continue funding is not an achievement. It's business as usual. Neighbourhood development plans, Bow, Desert, Henley and Arden, Long Marston and Hampton Lucy. It's the residents and their groups that did all the hard work to achieve the NDPs, not this authority. At best, it's business as usual. Supporting Pride, Silver Sunday and Swimming for Chronic Pain and Parkinson's sufferers are welcomed but they hardly rank as achievements.
30
And
seconds,
chronic
Councillor
pain was mentioned last year. Last but not least, aptly as Councillor Skinner resigns today, Armed Forces Covenant. 2 years on, how many Armed Forces veterans have we actually employed? When I last checked, not a single one. So we're left with 2 billboards, which for you film buffs is 1 billboard short of a good film title. Looking ahead, local government reform will inevitably slow activity down as we get nearer to a new council. But this administration seems intent to have as its key achievement to become the first zombie council in Warwickshire. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Pemberton. I now leave it open for comments, please. If you'd like to put your hands up. Thank you. First question, please, from Councillor Wally Hoggins.
I don't know if it's a question or debate, but the flim-flam-flumery of the contents of your achievements in this report is breathtaking. The fact that the most prevalent crimes in this district remain those of a violent and sexual nature was and will always be a blight on our society and is very serious in our district. The rise of crime in the district by 2,204 crimes to 10,108 is utterly woeful considering the particular vulnerabilities of the victims of crime and the extra money collected through tax for policing. For many people, the purpose of the District Council is to empty their bins and to control and keep on top of planning. It is clear that any achievements this administration seeks to claim is now totally overshadowed by this Lib Dems Council's loss of control of the 5-year housing supply. The loss of planning control by this Lib Dem Council will be far more damaging to the environment, and you will be remembered for the environmental destruction caused by all the building work our communities can now expect. Climate action and net zero means nothing now that the environment in many communities is going to be destroyed because you've lost control of planning. So will you and the Greens be writing to your party leaders to point out the consequences of needing all of these new houses? Because that remains firmly at your feet. People need places to live. You've lost control of housing. There will be countryside destroyed across this district in order to satisfy the needs of those that need homes.
Thank you. Councillor Johnston.
Thank you, Chair. Could I refer to paragraph 8.2.6? And I would like to express my concern on the information on the proportion of people who have dementia but are undiagnosed. We have one of the worst rates in the region. As the representative of this council on the County Council's Adult Services and Health Overview and Scrutiny Committee, I should be asking a question on why this is the case and what is going to be done about it.
Thank you. Councillor Holmes.
Thank you, Chair. I wanted to highlight again the part of the report which looks at the near 20% increase in population of the district from 2012 to 2024. Now, we can't deny the many benefits that all our new neighbours have brought to our communities. The Labour government is now enforcing tougher top-down housing numbers following uncontrolled development under previous Conservative administrations at this council. And now this Lib Dem administration must clean up the mess that the tired two-old party system has left for us to deal with. I want to commend the council's work. Sorry, was that a point of order? No, it was a laugh. Okay. Keep on laughing. As a member representing a ward facing proposals for a large new town, does the leader agree with me that it's vital that our forthcoming local plan recognises and protects the distinct character, culture and heritage assets that our communities and towns are best known for and attract so many people to live in this wonderful place that we all call home? And that any future development, particularly large-scale new towns, will be considered in this. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Alcock.
Thank you, Chair. I want to bring people's attention to 6.3.2 in the report. And I know I've mentioned this last year, and I believe I mentioned it the year before as well. So the weekly median for full-time men was £815.40, while that for full-time women working was £702.70. So still 86% difference. The equal pay for women came in almost, well, it came in 1970, it was enacted in 1976, almost 50 years ago, yet we are still seeing a discrepancy of this size. It is 2025. As a council, we must start looking at the employers who are not paying equal pay, and also looking at why women's pay is so much different to male counterparts. Now, I know this isn't just a district issue, I know this is a countrywide issue, but in the district, we need to look at what the reasons for this are. Are women having to take minimum wage jobs due to additional childcare, etc.? Or what is the reason? Because there has to be one. An 86% difference is not acceptable in 2025. I'd also just like to raise the question as well, say with the increase in population and the increase in number of houses, etc., can you just tell me, is there an increase in the number of electric chargers we have in the district? We are seeing an increase of electric cars, and that's all very well, but without the infrastructure there to support the electric cars, we're not going to be sustainable as a district. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Coles.
Thank you, Chair. It's sort of more a discussion point, perhaps, and a question to our leader. I wondered if she would like to join with the rest of us congratulating this council on achieving the Silver Award for the Armed Forces Covenant. This was a concept new to me when I joined the council, and I fully appreciate the strength of it, but I do seem to remember that the covenant had been in place already, but no work had been done on it because it was raised by one of the parties in this as a jolly good idea and had been done and put on a shelf. We have, in 2+ years, thanks to the inordinate hard work of our staff and also some extremely helpful input from some of my council colleagues, Councillor Pagenham and Councillor Skinner, we've been able to bring ourselves to the point of being awarded the Silver Award, and I am very lucky and honoured to be able to be going to the conference to discuss where we go forward next Tuesday, and I will be delighted to bring a report back from that. The other one, just as sort of a general musing, I think when I first came in, we actually stopped the U-bus service from being cancelled, which had happened in the previous budget. I think you'll find, if you go back, you'll find that is the case. And we've been very pleased to do what we can to keep such a valued community service. And I've certainly had your input, Councillor Parker, to keep it going, because we do recognise the seriousness and the need of some service like that. Obviously, things will change when we go to unitary, and I look forward to having some really quite strong input into where that goes as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Petrovich.
Thank you. I think there are many notable stats in this report, some more and some less favourable. And I think it is an important item on the Council's yearly agenda to debate our achievements, but also, which we all need to recognise, identify areas for improvement and listen to views of all members who know what matters the most to their residents. So just a couple of points on some of the stats that were also previously mentioned. The recorded crime increases specifically concerning in regards to having now the highest prevalence of violent and sexual offences. And whilst the rate is lower than last year, I'm sure that all members would agree that these numbers are still too high. So could the leader comment on our community safety team's engagement strategies with other agencies and what they're doing to prevent and tackle this increase in this heinous crime? Secondly, on 6.2.2, unemployment and benefits, another notable stat for me was that younger adults now have a higher rate of claiming unemployment benefits than the headline rate, which clearly demonstrates the need for the improved support and services, especially since the end of COVID pandemic, which we know had a huge impact on young people's mental health. So whilst I understand that this falls more in a county remit, it would be good to know how we are liaising with county council and other agencies to ensure that young people know that there are jobs and opportunities for them that they can do, and a system which doesn't simply write them off. And finally, also on health inequalities, I was really saddened to read that we have increased percentage of children and young people living with obesity, as well as the high prevalence amongst adult population. And whilst this is still below national average, I would really like to see more being done on prevention, especially as both county and this district have passed the strategies and motions to improve food environments, food education and knowledge. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Crump.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, a couple of things, lots of things. I appreciate the formatting of this report is quite challenging as an ex-officer myself. Just page 32 is quite difficult to read. So if people could sense check the reports before they come out, I wonder whether the printer had run out by then. Even with my limited eyesight, I still had difficulty looking at that. There's a couple of things I'd like to say. The report, and you're probably guided by statute on this, has different timescales, different periods in it. We look at the timescales for house numbers, which was 23, 24, some of which is 18 months to almost 2 years for the information on house building, particularly affordable houses. We have a look at claimant numbers, and we look at June 25. We have things that relate to October 24. So it seems to be a bit of inconsistency. I know we are limited on this, but if it's the state of the district, it would be good if we knew what period we're looking at. It's the state of the district, well, regarding the housing numbers, we're only going back to 23, 24, March 24. Claimant numbers, we're talking at June 25. So it's quite confusing, so I would like some clarity around that as well. It's interesting as well, 10.1.8, lots of achievements. Yeah, that's good, but how and when is money being spent? We've given that amazing 13,000 trees to be planted. Well, that's good, but is there anything to put by that make sure they live and thrive and maintain? So are they watered? Are they made pest-proof for the first 3 years? Because if they've got planting 13,000 trees and they die within 18 months because of the lack of rain, HS2 has suffered from that problems in my area. So that's good, but let's see some more actions. SDCE cargo bikes used in Upper Lighton, how often? New custom access terminal reintroduced in Southam. I've got some figures from a county point of view, but interesting to see what usage the people are using from your point of view. Local leisure centres supporting people with Parkinson's. Excellent. But how many people are using this? Can this be extended? Can we target even more so we can get better value for our buck? So I think it's achievement that we need to be talking about. But let's concentrate. Let's be complete, open and transparent about this and say, yes, we are doing this. We could do better. Or the Parkinson's work at Stratford Leisure Centre had lots of people. In the other leisure centres, we didn't have many because it wasn't well advertised. So I think, yes, let's have a bit more context about this. So that's one of the real issues. And the only other issue is, well, there's two. One, about the housing affordable numbers that have gone down from 540 in 22-23 to 354 in 23-24. Which is about
30 seconds,
a third of a decrease. So I think we need to look at that. And secondly, I noticed with Councillor Skinner resigning, he was the Armed Forces champion.
I've got quite a few links to the armed forces, and in my county ward I regularly attend Glarness House, the Royal British Legion Home. So if you are looking for a volunteer to take over that role, I'm more than happy to put myself forward. Thank you.
Excellent. Just within the 3 minutes. Councillor Parry.
Thank you, Chair. As the over 65s represent 25% of the district compared to 19% on a national basis, can I possibly ask the leader and the planning portfolio holder to use this as evidence in the South Warwickshire local plan to ensure that we have a much greater housing mix towards bungalows and single-storey properties across the district? We should at least take that percentage. It's a 6% increase on people over 65, and I do therefore think we should be providing the right type of homes for our generation that wish to live in the district. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Passingham.
Most of what's reported in this report is outside of the capacity of the district council. We have to recognise that this administration in lots of areas has done what it can with very limited resources, especially as local government support over the last 15 years has been cut by 40 or 50%. And that's not just for things the council does, but it results in the health inequalities, the fuel poverty, and the crime in terms of cuts to the police there originally was, and now we're only back to where we were 15 years ago. So there are lots of things that you cannot blame this administration for in this report. But it is very disappointing that there is so much poverty in various areas, that there's nearly 50% of people claiming benefits in some of the wards in the area. I'm not quite sure what the council can do about that, but we're very keen to discuss ways, or I know that the administration will be looking at what it can do, but there's not a lot it can do as far as I can see. There's obviously things that as Greens we would like to have more done, but on the whole it's very enlightening to see what the state of the district is, but and there are some things that we must all try and do locally, but I think for a lot of it we would need more grants to the local council and things to change quite a lot.
Thank you. Councillors, do any of you wish to answer any more, or ask any more questions before I go to Councillor Coucher? Councillor Gist, anybody else? Anyone else? I have Councillor Gist, Councillor Fleming and Councillor Adam. Yeah. Councillor Gist, would you like to speak?
Thank you, Chair. Just wanted to raise or answer a couple of points that Councillor Wally Huggins has commented on. With regard to serious violence, it is a concern, it's a national concern. The government have legislated, as you know, the serious violence duty, and me and the Community Safety Manager, I think we've got a date to come to overview and scrutiny and update members on our work of this authority with towards the serious violence duty. So please do ask us any questions there. The report does note that there is a change in the way Warwickshire Police record data, and of course there's always that dance with reporting of crime as to whether more people are reporting it, and so we know more about it. There's always that dance, but obviously it's not a good number and we're not happy about it, and we do our best we can with our resources to work with partners to reduce violent crime. You mentioned the tax on policing. Half of the money we all pay as taxpayers goes to the police, And so please, please come to the Police and Crime Panel and raise your concerns with the Commissioner. We're getting ready to look at his proposals for the precept. So I'm sure he would welcome to hear from you direct.
Councillor Fleming. Sorry, apologies, my microphone wasn't working.
Okay, thank you. On page 46 in a list of your things that you're delivering, you've got climate change strategy adoption. In view of the things that have been said today by members of the public, is that strategy likely to be modified? Is it a new strategy? And is there room for it to implement what the members of the public have been asking today?
Thank you, Councillor Fleming. Councillor Adam.
Thank you. I'd just like to sort of raise some of the aspects that I've seen, particularly from my role in the last year on the Cabinet, and as just a ward member as well, that it's fairly narrow scope in terms of the climate impact that we have as a council, but those are the investments that we make that will both make us more sustainable and secure as a council, even through reorganisation, but also make sure that our residents see the benefits of that and don't suffer from the long-term impacts of climate change, be it the funding for feasibility into cycle schemes, something that I'm benefiting from in my ward, solar panels on leisure centres that the district council owns, the transition to HVO, the biggest climate impact that we have had that has been mitigated against with that, and improvements to our other assets such as Elizabeth House, something that went through this council unchallenged because it's unambiguously good for the running of our council and our staff. Those are the things that are having a positive impact that we have had as initiatives that we are delivering on, which will have positive benefits to our residents.
Thank you. Any further comments to be made? Thank you. I'd like to ask Councillor George Coucher, please.
Thank you. I think it's important that we appreciate the purpose of this report. This is really the start of the budget process for 26-27. So it is, frankly, important that the majority of the report really is talking about the state of the nation or the state of our district. And as has already been said, for many of the things which we find difficulty within this district, we have very limited powers in terms of how we can deal with them. Crime, we clearly we have certain powers that we're able to do so, but frankly, it's mostly the responsibility or preventing crime which our police force has. Similarly, in relation to other areas which we don't have direct powers basically to do. Clearly, I think to describe this council as being a zombie council or just talking about flim flam. I mean, you can throw political objections to what is happening, but I don't think that is the reality. This council has operated, I think, in a very professional and very competent manner. We've been very lucky to have a very good cohort of officers who have supported that and produced the outputs that we are able to report here today. You have all, I think, identified individual areas where you are concerned. Yes, we have major challenges with regard to planning coming forward, not because we've lost control of housing. That frankly is disingenuous and perhaps the sort of stuff we'd normally get from the Reform Party. But we are having to respond now to the changes in government policy which have been introduced overnight and which nobody could have preempted. And so we're having to deal with that in terms of where we're going. Yes, Councillor Holmes raises problems in terms of his own particular ward. I think we've all our wards facing very large amounts of new housing development. It is going to be a very testing next 12 months while we put together a coherent South Warwickshire local plan that meets the requirements of a government that wants to build 1.5 million houses. I'm not sure whether we've got the resources to do that, but that's their aspiration. And who is putting house building before anything else, even to such a degree that we may have some disadvantage on Hathaway's Cottage, and yet we've got a planning consent. We have a lot to do. We've done a lot, and I would certainly endorse this paper as being a good starting point.
Thank you. Councillor Junod.
I will concentrate on answering one or two of the questions. It was my honour recently to sign off 2 more projects to tackle domestic abuse. This was on top of the money that was in the budget last year, and also through the UK Shared Prosperity Fund, we were able to put another £55,000 into domestic abuse projects. So that is, I think, 3 different kind of sources of money that has gone into the domestic abuse and tackling that. On community safety, not only have we got community safety officers and put money into the rural crime, but under the UK Shared Prosperity Fund, we put another 31,000 into the rural crime advisors programme. Just on the trees programme, again, a lot of this is in council papers and also the parish and partners briefing, which again all councillors have been able to look at. Because, for example, it says about when you plant trees, not only is it the Heart of England Forest being involved, but Warwickshire Wildlife Trust have actually been able to be involved in that programme to help make sure that those trees do not die. But I take your point, it is worth having a report back on some of these things. But to say, look, a lot of the stuff that has been raised today are in the papers. Electric vehicle chargers, we've got 197 currently. We are 21st out of 164 district councils. Per 100k population, 142.2, ranking us 23rd out of 164, but we have a report coming soon about more that is going to be done to boost the number of electric vehicle charge points within the district. Take your point about the bungalows and the number of over 65s. I certainly know in my area that a number of, in my close, about 5 or 6 people are single people in family homes, but it's very difficult and almost impossible to afford there's not even bungalows that I could afford to move into. Quite frankly, we need other approaches to be able to make sure that happens. But it's something that we do need to look at. The housing has got to be genuinely affordable, and at the moment even our affordable housing is not necessarily affordable because it comes at it is set against market value, not necessarily about income. Climate Action Plan, yes, it's a new action plan. It's available on the District Council website. It's a new strategy as well. And we thank our Environmental Climate Change Officer for doing a huge amount of work on that one. It is worth looking at as a councillor to look at what that strategy is and what that action plan is. It has been done and completed relatively recently within the last year. One thing that was not mentioned by anybody was about on health. We've had a health screening programme. One thing that I would like to report back on is that out of all the people that have attended the PSA cholesterol and other diabetes screening programmes, 83 people so far, and there's a lot more has happened since these figures were brought together, 83 have actually been referred back to their doctor for more deeper analysis, and that means that 83 people hopefully will be kept in good health that might not have otherwise happened. On the again coming on the domestic violence, money has gone to refuge, but money has also gone to a training and awareness project, because that is one thing we need to do, is to make sure that prevention is done. And I think I've got everybody, but yes, the dementia one is one that we do need to raise with the County Council and with the Health Service, because that's something that does need addressing. And I certainly agree that we do need, when we're looking at where housing is to go, we do need to protect heritage, but we also need to protect environment. And it's unfortunate that the recent an appeal did actually weaken the response to environment and heritage. That is something that we need to get, that is why we need to take control as quickly as possible on this, to be able to give the maximum support to environment and heritage and flood risk as well. I think I've got everything, but please tell me if I haven't.
Thank you. We have a proposer and a seconder. Can I ask you if you'd like the report to be noted? Agree that the report is noted, please. All those in favour? Thank you. Anyone against? Any abstentions? It's carried. Thank you very much. Good debate. Thank you, councillors. May we move on to item 7 now, minute 251, scrutiny protocol. And I'd like to ask the monitoring officer, please, if she'd like to say a few words.
Thank you, Chair. Just to confirm that it was resolved at Cabinet that the scrutiny protocol matter would be deferred to the next meeting of the Cabinet to allow members of the Overview and Scrutiny Committee time to consider the matter in more detail. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Item 8, minute 252, notice of motion. Support for reinstating the Stratford southbound rail link. I invite Councillor Coucher to introduce this report, please.
Thank you, and I thank councillors who submitted this notice of motion, which was considered by the Cabinet at its meeting on the 6th of October. We feel that it is very important, given the situation with regard to the South Warwickshire local plan, that we keep all transport options open, and that includes rail or light rail access, particularly through to Long Marston and the potential growth area southwest of Stratford. So Cabinet, when they considered this matter, believe that we should support all three of the requirements actually within the notice of motion, and certainly we should agree to support the principle of keeping this open. This is not a proposal which deals with the details of how that might happen, or indeed what the physical manifestation of that might be. Obviously, we are, I think, in making that recommendation to Council, cognizant of the users, particularly of the Greenway, who would not want to see that very valuable facility in any way degraded within the district. But we believe that there is room for the reinstatement of a railway line, as well as keeping that very, very important public facility available as well. So therefore we would recommend to this council that you accept the notice of motion as set out by Cabinet and agree to this proposal.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder to the proposal?
Yes, very happy to second that and reserve my right to speak if needed. Thanks.
Thank you very much. So are there any members who wish to speak on this? Any others? Okay, Councillor Pemberton, please.
Thank you, Chair. I was unable to attend Cabinet, but I am heartened to hear the portfolio holder's remarks in relation to keeping light or very light rail on the table for a solution. I think that heavy rail does create some significant problems around maintaining the use of the Greenway as a green lung and active travel corridor. And all I would ask as because we have to understand that from the perspective of the motion and the promoters of the line, they are heavy rail proponents. And I think all that I would ask of the portfolio holder as we move forward is that when work is done to consider the use of the Greenway as a transport corridor, that there is as much weight and consideration given to the option of light or very light rail as a solution, both for the Greenway and for a connection between Long Marston and to the main line at Honeybourne, as there is for a heavy rail solution. So in other words, I want to ensure that the portfolio holder, and I believe the portfolio holder probably is in this place, but I would just be, I want that reassurance that all options will continue to be analysed so that we don't sort of box ourselves in. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Parker.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I think I'd first like to thank officers for the excellent report, which I read with interest, and to also thank the Cabinet for their close consideration. And also, I think I'd like to thank my colleague, Councillor Holmes, for seconding the original motion in the first place. It's nice to work cross-party, always my preference. I'll be very brief. I would like to echo that which has already been said about we don't know in what form this might come. Frankly, I'm less reticent of heavy rail to Councillor Pemberton, but ultimately this will come out in the wash, and we will go with the best plan that will emerge. Thank you very much.
Any further comments before I go to Councillor Harding? Councillor Wally-Hoggins.
Yes, I've not been a councillor for as long as some of my contemporaries sitting around this table, but slightly longer than others. But this matter, this rail link, has been before us several times during my lifetime on this council. So it's simple, really. Which magic money tree is going to pay for the reinstatement of this line, and how much is any investigation into its if you like, reinstatement going to cost, and where's that money coming from? And surely the green light for this would mean exponential increases in the spread of building work across Stratford, because a new rail line will mean that we can have more building work here, and residents really need to know that. And also, I'm pretty certain from the work that we've done that residents would far prefer roads to be improved as a priority rather than yet another attempt to get a rail link that we all know, those of us that have been on this council for a longer time than others, know isn't going to go anywhere and is just merely kite flying yet again. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comments before I call on Councillor Hard? Oh, Councillor Passingham.
If you go to almost any tourist destination in Europe, you find a good public transport system, good rail connections, and a good tram system, at least most places. So why can't we have that here? We've heard from Stephen Norrie earlier about the way the National Planning Policy Framework recommends, I've got the wording here, promoting walking, cycling and public transport, and then the Warwickshire Local Plan version 4 recommends something very similar, and the South Warwickshire Local Plan, in its introduction and aims, talks about rail corridors for where we're going to build all these new settlements and so on. So it was quite disappointing that at the end of the local plan, there was no mention of rail being taken forward, but there was indication that the South West Relief Road would be taken forward. And then we come to council, and £250,000 is being put forward for a further study for the South West Relief Road, which would cost a lot more than rail. The adjusted estimates from when it was looked at first is over 200 the road, and the rail, depending on whether you go for a tram train option, which wouldn't mean a lot of tunnelling where the track has been lost, would between 130 million and 170 million. So it would be a cheaper option. It would be vastly better in terms of carbon emissions, in terms of stopping car dependency, which was one of the problems that we had from the residents that spoke earlier, from Brearley and the other settlements. And it really is such a better way to travel, is such a better proposal than building another road, destroying lots of countryside, encouraging car dependency. I think there's still an opportunity for this administration to drop its support in funding for the road. I think, and it admits in the report on this, that the new targets and the South Warwickshire local plans, new settlements and growth areas really supports the business case for relinking the railroad and linking Stratford with the rest of southern England, with Oxford and Bristol and so on, as a tourist destination. So there are lots and lots of really good reasons for going for rail, and there are lots of really good reasons for not going for road. So I obviously like the recommendation of the council, but I think there's a further opportunity as the local plan is being taken forward for a really sustainable solution.
Thank you. Councillor Harding.
Thank you, Chair.
Just in terms of sheer pragmatism, we are in an awful lot of trouble with our 5-year land supply. This Borden Hill decision, the planning appeal, has left us in a pretty pickle. And the obvious solution to get us out of that in the immediate near term is to go for the brownfield development sites at Long Marston. A road, which has been considered twice before, has got absolutely nowhere. A rail scheme is pretty well shovel-ready. And the Department of Transport has conceded that they will support such a scheme if it is supported by the local community. You have to remember that rail is two-way. There will be employment opportunities, no doubt, along Marston, and young people from Stratford are going to want to commute southbound, as well as people coming into town the other way. We must keep all our options open. So I beg to second this motion.
Thank you. Councillor Littlewood, are you okay? You don't wish to say anything?
Yes, thank you. I'll
Thank you.
pass.
Councillor Coucher, please.
Thank you very much. I think, as I opened my comments this afternoon, we have to keep our options open here. Governments come, governments go, ministers come, ministers go. We have got to improve access to potential development southwest of Stratford. So it's really important that we are looking at both road and rail options, and that we do keep our options open. And I am grateful to Councillors Parker and Holmes for bringing forward this, because it has reminded us of the importance of retaining the rail option to make sure that that is available for us. It is pragmatic for us to do that. It is at this point in time unclear as to which solution is likely to be best. Yes, we have looked at roads to potentially come round Stratford to serve Long Marston in the past. I have to say those schemes were not perfect, and there was enormous public resistance to those. So the work that we are doing with our feasibility study on the roads, I think we'll come forward with a much better solution that we can then go to government there. But we will have at least two ideas that we'll be able to take to them. Yes, a road, or we do have the rail. We've already done a viability study. We've already paid for that in relation to light rail versus heavy rail. So we do know the parameters of both. I think at this point in time, it would be useful to keep both on the table for consideration. This is a helpful motion to what this council is trying to do, and I would urge you to support it.
Thank you, everyone. We have a proposer and a seconder. Are we all agreed? That's unanimous. Thank you very much indeed. No. Oh, I beg your pardon. Do we have anybody against? Thank you. And do we have any abstentions? Thank you. 3 abstentions. It's carried. It's carried. Thank you. I do apologise. I didn't see. Right, moving on, item 9, councillor questions. 6 questions and answers have been received and been circulated. I'm going to go back to the questioners now and ask if they wish for a supplementary. So question 1, councillor Littlewood, do you have a supplementary question?
Yes, thank you. First, thanks to Councillor Coucher for a very comprehensive and thorough response to my question. Planning for both the economy in the district, the growth of the economy in the district, as well as housing, is interlinked. And we now find ourselves in a situation with the lack of the 5-year housing land supply. That means that the infrastructure requirements are of new settlements are somewhat under attack. This means that the economy plans are under attack. What is the situation? What are the plans to counter this position with the emerging South Warwickshire local plan, which must go hand in glove with the South Warwickshire economic plan as well? Thank you.
Councillor Coucher.
The Cabinet on the 6th of October considered an update on the progress in relation to where we're going with our economic strategy, and I'm very pleased to report that we're making, I think, good progress on a wide number of areas, but there are areas such as skills where we still have more to do. Not that we can deliver directly, but we can influence others. South Warwickshire local plan is really important in terms of protecting our economic future, and I had the pleasure of working with 2 colleagues earlier on today when we were looking at one of our key areas, which is clearly Gaydon and Upper Lighthorn, where we have JLR and we have potentially more land there that we could allocate if we so wished. So we are making sure that there will be sufficient land allocated within the local plan to make sure we are addressing the requirements of business, particularly manufacturers and those who are looking for smaller units. But we are being forced also by government to look at warehousing as well, which I know is not our preferred strategy. We have a lot of work ongoing with high streets, and also with tourism and hospitality and other sectors, and working closely with the Growth Hub, with the County Council and with our good business representative organisations such as the Chamber and the FSB.
Thank you. Councillor Ballinger, do you have a follow-up question?
Firstly, thank you, Leader, for the answer for my question. The only thing that I would want to ask is when we look at other councils, and there's varied examples throughout the country where there have been churches that have had solar panels put on said church, is there a way as a council we could look at what those councils have looked at in terms of when they have made their decisions of placement, if that would be okay?
Thank you for your question. I do know, I actually met the environmental advisor, the climate change advisor for the diocese in Ulster, quite by chance actually, who was able to tell me more about the solar panels that are on churches in other parts of the country. So, for example, Gloucester, Salisbury, Chester cathedrals, as well as churches at St John's in Old Trafford, St Peter's in St Petersville. He was also able to tell me that the Church of England has a climate change strategy and ambitions, and I do hope that we can work with them. I do know, as somebody who's worked in this field, that solar panels now are much lighter, less reflective than they used to be in the past, and this may be something that we could take forward.
Thank you. Question 3, Councillor Ballinger, it's you again. Do you have a supplementary?
I don't on this one. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you. Question 4. Councillor, and question 5, Councillor Bromwich is absent. Question 6, Councillor Petrovich, do you have a supplementary?
Thank you. Yes, thank you. And thank you to the portfolio holder for providing, again, a comprehensive response on this. It's encouraging to see that there has been some progress on the high street vacancies pilot. There are 3 reports that were mentioned, and also the high street audit and the register of empty properties. I was just wondering if the portfolio holder could advise whether this can be or could be shared with the members as well as the towns and parishes, who could then potentially liaise with community groups and other interested parties in their wards who might be interested in taking on some of those, as some of those might be a community of assets of community value. And secondly, just in terms of the high street rental auction powers that are mentioned, given the short lifespan, unfortunately, of this council, whether we do have a timeline for when we might actually adopt those powers and have them in use. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Coucher.
Yes, I'm pleased that this project is moving ahead well and spread across the districts, involving both Ulster and Southam as well as Stratford, and I think we're making good progress in both Ulster and Southam in particular in setting up the groups there. Here in Stratford, yes, I think it's very important that we do share that with ward members within Stratford, and I know that our MP has taken great interest in terms of where we are going on this matter. The high street rental option is an option, but it is at the moment quite difficult in terms of implementation, largely because if we are to use council money in relation to that, we need to know exactly how we're going to reuse that particular property. So we need to be a little bit cautious. I am very pleased, though, that there is emerging within Stratford appears to be a regeneration group about whether we can get third-party money to help with that. And I know that I'm meeting with our MP and with the promoters of that scheme on Friday. So this is very much a developing situation.
Thank you. Councillors, with your indulgence, can I ask for a 5 to 10 minute break, please? Comfort break. Is that okay? Thank you. I propose we come back ready to start at 5 to 4. Thank you. So, hands up who would like to ask a question of the leader, please.
Councillors, can I just check, please? I've got Councillors Harvey, Hatch, Parry, Passingham, Ostrander, Holmes, Littlewood, Crump and Pemberton. Are there any further questions? Wally Hoggins at the back, thank you.
And councillors, we have 30 minutes, so I'm afraid you'll have to be very, very quick because there's many people that need to ask questions. We'll start with Councillor Harvey, please.
Thank you, Chairman. I rise as the member for Treddington Ward, which is adjacent to Quinton Ward. On behalf of the residents of Quinton Ward, can I welcome Councillor Skinner's, or former Councillor Skinner's, decision to do the correct thing and resign his office. Could I ask the leader to use her influence, both within her party and on a cross-party basis, that whoever becomes candidates in the forthcoming by-election, whatever knowledge, experience, or integrity they bring to the office, or attempted office, could she ensure that they have the time available to fulfil the duties and responsibilities of a councillor? Thank you.
I most certainly can. I have also received read the resignation letter from Councillor Skinner, and it's the pressures put on him by being in the RAF reservist and all the extra work he's had to do because of his specialist skills in current times that has all happened since he was elected. The job that he has with Amazon, which has taken him all over the world, not only just has happened since he became councillor. But I would make sure that wherever possible, but we have to recognise that people's jobs and responsibilities do change, but it is something that I take seriously, that we should have councillors that represent their residents as properly as possible, and we will be making sure that whoever's put forward will be the best person for that role.
Thank you. Councillor Passingham.
I think there are a lot of towns, and in particular around the district, that feel under attack from developers at the moment, including Shipston, which is surrounded by developers putting in applications on greenfield sites and could possibly almost double the size of Shipston. I put a motion to the council about talking to Coventry City Council about taking back some of the houses that have been put on us. Just to remind people, before the new government housing targets, there were different targets, head-net targets, and Coventry's targets were halved, ours were doubled. They have a lot of land outlined.
Point of order.
Chair, so my question is, it's a shame that it's been delayed for 2 months. It's quite urgent that if Coventry can take back any of the housing...
So Passingham, I'm going to have to stop you there, sorry.
Chair, sorry, the motion that's being referred to is being referred to the Cabinet for consideration because there are policy implications resulting from that, so it can't be debated today. Thank you.
That was the answer I was
Councillor Crump, is it a point of order?
Can we have that time back on 30 minutes, please?
I might allow an extra 30 seconds. Councillor Hatch.
My question's about the cabinet paper, the options for boosting the supply of housing land, and the action plan talked about in it, which we welcome. But we look forward to a member advisory group so we can input into that. We'd like to add one thing to that, is some more officer support for parish and town councils that have been inundated with planning applications. And yeah, would like your answer on that, please.
Yes, the whole purpose of the advisory group is to make sure that we are kept informed, but also make sure that everything is progressing, because it is absolutely crucial that we get the local plan, but also the 5-year housing land supply addressed as soon as we can, to be able to take back control, to make sure that all the things we feel very deeply about, which is about making sure that we've got environmental protection, we've got heritage protection, we've got areas that are not in flood risk areas, we are able to make sure that they remain a part of our plan going forward. We do not want to be able to be in a position where we have to go to appeal, or where we lose appeals, where we find development that is taking place in areas that is not that are not supported by our local plan. And the other one is parish council support. We have a parish council forum, and we've got a parish council liaison officer. We now have the parish and partners briefing as well, and making sure that parish and councils and town councils are fully kept informed about all aspects of this district council's work, including our planning and South Warwickshire local plan is absolutely crucial. They can help us with this as well. Because they've got neighbourhood development plans and other ways in which they can help us identify areas that might be helpful to us going forward. So it's absolutely crucial. And I say the liaison officer is a new officer that was put in place this last year.
Thank you. Councillor Parry.
Thank you, Leader. It's just a point of clarification, if you wouldn't mind, because Councillor Roger Harding highlighted earlier this afternoon that the Department of Transport has indicated what appears to be financial support for the railway, for a railway extension from Stratford-on-Avon to Honeybourne. And so I'm sure other councillors would join me in learning far more information about this great news from the Department of Transport, because the last time I understood the perceived cost was going to be 5, 6, 7 years ago was 100 million. So it's bound to be about 200 million now. So this is really welcome news that Councillor Harding says that the Department of Transport are interested in giving their support. So very much look forward to hearing your response. Thank you.
I understand that the support that has been given on transport is towards the new towns. So, for example, there is some support for the new Worcester Parkway new town. That is, but it's in early stages. But I believe there is something there. But all of it will be included in the report that we've commissioned to make sure that we are absolutely sure of our facts on this one, so that we can put a solid case to government about what the needs are within this area.
Councillor Holmes.
Thank you, Chair. The government has announced a £84 million budget to help tackle homelessness in the UK, with 4.4 million allocated to the West Midlands region. I just wanted to know if there's been any representation made to help see some of that funding come into Stratford district. Thank you.
This is a relatively new announcement by government, and it is something that I would want to support. I would want to make sure that anything that comes from government is spread to all the areas that need it. As I understand it, of the 84 million, there's about 4.4 million that is coming to Warwickshire, and we want to make sure that there is an element of that comes to this area as well, and we will make representations.
Councillor Ostrander.
Thank you, Chair. Sorry about that. This question echoes many of the concerns that were raised by residents in the public participation part of this meeting, as well as some of the comments that were made in the state of the district. My question is this. The Council, at its last meeting, endorsed its commitment to tackling the climate emergency. Would the Leader write to the Leader of the Opposition and the Right Honourable Jeremy Wright to challenge the proposal that the Conservative Party will seek to repeal the Climate Change Act?
I remember the Climate Change Act 2008 coming in. It was something that when it went through Parliament, it was put forward originally by Gordon Brown's government, but it was with the support of all the parties. I believe there was all the parties voted in favour bar 5. I think there was 5 people that voted from one particular party that voted against it. The rest all voted for it. And it has provided clarity, in my view, as a professional in this area, on this subject, with consensus and political stability on the subject. And it's managed by a 5-year carbon budget, but it's the Climate Change Committee was formulated in order to be able to have progress reports on this on a regular basis. And they have put their progress reports in every single year without fear or favour about what government has or hasn't done and whether they've made progress. And has it delivered? Yes, it has. There is now nearly 60 countries across the world that have now adopted UK-style climate change laws, and 20 of those have got climate change committee advisory groups that have formed. But what to this country, it has developed, environmental progress. It's not only has it given progress on the actual emissions, and emissions have fallen, although they're not fallen fast enough, but they have fallen across the country. But it, in my view, and this is my professional view, getting rid of this Climate Change Act now would offer reputational damage to the UK. The certainty of this policy has driven clean investment and new decarbonised technologies. And there has been a considerable number of jobs, I believe about 1 million jobs, that have come to this country as a result of the Climate Change Act. And it's really, really useful to have seen recently that people from all political parts of the political spectrum have come out to support the Climate Change Act. From Theresa May, who called it a retrograde step, to Alok Sharma, to Lord Debon, and many, many others, as well as the Bishop of Norwich and various other people that have said so publicly. It has brought to this country £83 billion in the economy in the last year, and has provided high-paying jobs, and almost 1 million people have benefited by the technologies that were brought in as a result of the Climate Change Act. So I think certainty of policy, being able to drive and attract clean investment and high technologies, the decarbonisation technologies, is beneficial to this country, and it's something that I would support and make sure that the Climate Change Act 2008, I'm happy to make those representations to whoever needs to it, and I'm sure there will be a lot of people in Parliament who actually feel exactly the same as myself, of all parties.
Thank you. Councillor Littlewood.
Thank you, Chair. Leader, let me predicate what I'm about to say by saying I am not a climate change denial, and I'm certainly not a member of the Flat Earth Society, which is kind of in the same league, I think. But I would, I'm glad to hear what you've just said, Leader, in answer to your last question. Just so happens mine had questions about climate change and as it applies to Stratford District. And I agree that the UK has shown the way to the world. And it's important that they show the way to the world and get global improvement, because it's the global issues that actually are the problem here. It's the Russias, it's the Chinas, it's the Indias in particular. What we can do here is very little. In fact, what we do here, whether it be going to HBO, which has only partially been adopted in the district, Southam still has diesels, I understand. However, what we do here is insignificantly and vanishingly small in terms of global effects. I'm not saying we shouldn't continue to do so, we should. But is it now time, would you not agree with me, that to move the emphasis from trying to reduce emissions, we should continue to do that, but to move the focus onto mitigation, local mitigation within our areas. We see it in the plan for the South Warwickshire local plan in terms of not building on floodplains, but that's always been an issue. What we need to do now is to look at the communities that are under threat and are being affected and see how we can protect those. And I think that would be a practical, pragmatic and actually achievable objective. Thank you.
Can I thank you? As it happened, I was reading recently a report. There was Energy and Climate Change and Climate Intelligence Unit produces regular reports. And they were looking at the 10 years post-Paris Agreement on climate change, and bearing in mind that the COP30 is just about to come up. And they were emphasising the benefits to this country, but they were also emphasising the way in which we can set the lead and influence people by being one of the leaders in our field. They were also saying that of those countries, and there's a lot of misinformation and disinformation around about other countries and their progress. For example, a lot of people say about China, but China has actually progressed enormously. And we need to encourage and support those kind of countries from going forward. I mean, just the 10-year average emissions growth in China, for example, has plunged from 8% in the run-up to Paris to below 2% by 2023. More progress is needed, but it sets the. But the other thing is that we do not want to cede to countries, other countries, the innovation, the lead in the innovation that we can have in this country. And one of the things, if I remember rightly from my profession, was many years ago, there was the Green Deal pilot, and that was pulled, if you remember. Now, I worked with a lot of organisations across the West Midlands, and when that was pulled, one organisation that had chosen to invest, to have trained people and get apprentices for skills in the assumption that that work was going to go forward, suddenly found themselves go bust because the policy certainty had changed, and they were going to lead. They wanted, for example, to produce solar panels in this country, not have to import them from overseas. So this is why we need to be able to make sure that we have certainty, there is stability, clarity and consensus. And this is one area where this country can actually lead. We have been one of the first in the world in many, many areas in history. I don't want us to be the last in the world in the next decade or part of history.
May I have a
yes, you can have a
point of order, really. That wasn't my question. Oh, sorry, I beg your pardon. Yeah, thank you. That wasn't my question. My question was about Stratford District Council and what we can affect here. I don't argue with anything the leader has said. Perfectly logical and quite right a way forward. But it's about what we can do here to mitigate against. And that was my question.
And a fair question. We have the ability within this council not only to do things ourselves, but we also have the ability to influence. And for example, by our policies through planning, for example, to be able to shape what others do, and being able to apply for grants. And for example, the Warm Homes local grant that came into this council, I think between various grants, there was about £5 million came in. And the most recent one, which was the Home Upgrade Grant 2, saw 98 properties occupied by lower income households upgraded. Now that meant that those people were able to afford their energy bills, whereas previously they wouldn't have done. So this is the kind of work that this council can do, make people's homes more comfortable, alleviate cost of living issues as well, but by doing it in the right way, also doing things that make things have climate change. One organisation that I have worked with the Ashton, it says that if you can demonstrate benefits to people and, for example, being able to afford your energy bills, then you were more likely to be able to put in the insulation that is needed into the household to keep the energy bills down in the first place, but also to address climate change.
Thank you. Councillor Crump.
Very briefly, just a bit of a repeat of an earlier question. I mentioned earlier that due to my support and connections to the Royal British Legion Home, Glarness House in Southam, and being the son of a Coldstream Guardsman, I would like to be considered for the role of SDC's Armed Forces Champion that has become vacant due to Councillor Skinner's resignation. If I was selected, I would take the role extremely seriously and be an active champion throughout the whole of Stratford district. Thank you.
I'm not sure that that's a good decision for myself to be able to make about who becomes the Armed Forces champion, but thank you very much for your offer, and we will make sure that that is put forward with others. Maybe others will take it, but the decision is not mine.
Councillor Pemberton.
Thank you, Chair. I have two questions. My first question regards the Fred Winter Centre, which has recently come, and there's been a report, presentation to overview and scrutiny about changing some of the funding model. And I have seen some suggestions around whether the Fred Winter project is effective. I take the view, and my group takes the view, that the Fred Winter project is extremely effective. It addresses a hard-to-reach group, and when Evesham Place comes online, we'll have a further move-on option. And whilst members note that there is some evidence of homelessness or street living in the town, all the evidence I've seen from officers is that we've done a good thing here. Our administration started off and funded it, and your administration has continued to do that work, and that's a good thing. So, given some questions that have been raised about the future of the Fred Winter Centre, I'd like the leader to give me a categorical assurance that this administration will continue to support the Fred Winter Centre and its operation into the future, at least as long as this authority is in existence. Thank you.
Indeed. The Fred Winter Centre provides 15 flats for individuals who have experienced homelessness. And the service there provides not only that accommodation, absolutely vital as it is, but it also provides the support, including debt, substance misuse and other advice that's available. But it also gives mental health support to the people in there. And that is something that we need to support to make sure that we can get people back online, en route with their lives, and then moved off into other accommodation where they can recover from the traumas that have often accompanied the reason for why they've entered into the Fred Winter Centre in the first place. So happy to support that.
Thank you, Chair. Second question, if I may. I'll take the leader back to the beginning of this meeting where we talked about Hate Awareness Week and the importance of the words that politicians use about not othering people, not making people afraid of people who live in the north of the county. So I would just ask the leader to comment on the Stratford MP's comments over the weekend about the questions and floating the fear of planning decisions being made by those people in the north to affect the south, when everybody in this room knows that there is no model in which there'll only be one planning committee, even if there is a single unitary. And would the leader share with me concern that we should not use that they're different from us argument to promote a legitimate discussion about the shape of local government in this county? It is not right to characterise those in the north as something different to us. Thank you.
The Deloitte report, and the People 2 report does have a lot of information, which is very factual-based information, and that is how I, as a scientist, would want to continue this debate about, to be based on factual statistics and making sure that a case is put to government for the proposals that we have and the vision that we have for a different way of treating services in the future.
Thank you. Councillor Wally Hoggins.
Yes, it's a bit of a theme here, but when can our residents and parish councils expect to receive a proper and explicit briefing just about the consequences of the Borden Hill Planning Inspectorate decision and how the Lib Dems are going to tackle this? Because the proposals to we need to know what your proposals are going to be to offset the damage to the environment that all of this is now going to cause. This is about as serious as it gets for this district, and particularly for our rural villages. And we do expect, and I'm surprised that we haven't had a proper briefing note about it. I'm going to my last parish council tonight who've had extraordinary meetings in order for me to come and talk to them about this. They were completely unaware of the Borden Hill decision and the implications for them. And I think it's regrettable that that hasn't happened. I have a second question after that.
Thank you. Thank you for your question. We have the parish forum, which is twice a year, and there is all parish councils are invited to that parish forum, and this is one of the areas where they are briefed during that meeting. They are also get the parish and partners briefing, and that is also gives information. And I do hope that parish clerks, when they get it, do pass that on to their councillors, because there's a lot of useful information on in this one. But they were also involved, parish councils were involved in the consultation on the South Warwickshire local plan, and they've also been briefed on the changes. So there is a lot that is going. We have a parish liaison officer. I'll make sure that the parish liaison officer knows that we have to continue this information flow. But if you ask the parish clerks to see what is going through them, and it's essential that when it goes to a parish clerk, that they should also go it through to all the parish councillors as well.
Do you have a further question?
Do you think a meeting that happens twice a year for briefing parish councils really is the essence of transparency that this council, this Lib Dem council, trumpets so loudly about? It has to be, surely, an explicit briefing regarding this matter, such as the inundation of planning applications we can now expect. We seem to be underplaying the consequences of this, and I'm looking at other colleagues, and we all know what's going to happen now, but there is an element of denial here, and I'm very concerned.
Again, the parish councils are involved in all consultations. They were involved in the consultation, obviously, about the future of unitary authorities and etc. But they're also part of the consultation and had a chance to respond to the South Warwickshire local plan proposals as well. We must make sure that they are kept informed, and I'd say the parish and partners briefing goes out more regularly. But we must make sure that all parishes are kept informed. It is essential. It is an essential part of our communication brief, but it is not true that they are not kept informed.
Councillors, you have 4 minutes left. Anybody want to ask one more question? Councillor Harvey, Councillor Coles.
Thank you, Chairman. In response to the leader's reply to that last question, wouldn't it not be a good idea to follow an example that has been set in some parishes where the paper that was considered by the Cabinet last meeting, which sets out exactly what the problem is and what officers are doing to address that problem, wouldn't it be an idea if all councillors sent a copy of that, drew the attention of all their parish councillors to that paper, so that they're as well armed with the information about what the problem is and what the district authority is doing about it as are the members of the Cabinet?
I would welcome that. When I, as a councillor, when I attend my parish council meetings, which is Ulster Town Council and Colton Council, I have already briefed them on exactly what went on in that cabinet. And I also passed that message on to the other councillors I spoke to Kinnerton Parish Council exactly the same way. I have given them all the information that was available, publicly available in the Cabinet papers, and I expect other councillors to do exactly the same as that. It is part of the job of a councillor to make sure that information that is available, publicly available in council papers, is given to their parish councils when they go to keep them informed.
Thank you. Last question, Councillor Coles.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to thank Councillor Harvey and Councillor Judah for both of you pinching my question, but I would like to endorse the answer. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well done. 30 minutes. Excellent. Item 11, notice of motion update. It's for information only. Item 12, just some of you in your papers have 4 motions. One motion, number 1, motion number 2, motion number 2 again, and motion number 4. It is motion 1, 2, 3, 4. The one we will be debating is motion 4, but we'll start at the beginning. Motion 1, funding of neighbourhood development plans for parishes of Stratford-on-Avon District Council to replace withdrawn central government financial support. In accordance with the Council's procedure, once proposed and seconded, the motion will be referred to the Cabinet for consideration and report without debate. I invite Councillor Littlewood to propose the motion.
Thank you, Chair. Very pleased to propose this motion. The close reading of the NPPF shows that active and valid made NDPs, neighbourhood development plans, that are 5 years or less in age will act as a protection against overdevelopment within our rural communities, and I urge this council to adopt the motion. Thank you.
I invite Councillor Parry to second the motion.
Thank you, Chair. I'm very pleased to second this motion, particularly in my ward. I certainly have Wellesbourne and Walton neighbourhood development plan that was made well over 5 years ago, in which I took a very active part in its development, and the cost and the time involved to carry out review is extensive. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Parry. Motion number 2, support reallocation of some new housing from Stratford-on-Avon District to Coventry. I invite Councillor Passingham to propose the motion.
Right. Yes, I'd like to propose the motion because, and I think it's quite urgent because of the, as I was starting to say earlier, because of the situation that a lot of communities are in at the moment, and without going on too much, there is spare land in Coventry, probably mainly brownfield site, which should be built on first.
Councillor Hatch, I believe you want to second the motion.
Yeah, I'm happy to second the motion.
Thank you very much. Number 3, transfer of public open spaces to private owners. I invite Councillor Petrovic to propose the motion.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I'm very pleased to introduce this motion, which I think recommends some practical steps in which this council can safeguard our residents against some of the deeply concerning practices of private management companies, such as sale of public open spaces to private individuals, that were unveiled through the work of the Task and Finish group. I think this motion demonstrates Council's commitment to use every tool in our toolbox to make sure that public open space stay for public use, and that any charges levied are fair, transparent, and works done in accordance with developers' S106 obligation. So I urge this council to adopt this motion.
Thank you, Councillor. I invite Councillor Pemberton to second the motion.
Thank you, Chair. I couldn't have put it better myself, and I'm delighted to second the motion.
Thank you. Now, motion number 4, the 5-year housing land supply. This motion, once proposed and seconded, will be debated. I invite Councillor Pemberton to propose the motion.
Thank you, Chair. I think you can all read the motion. I'm not proposing to go through the motion, but in proposing, I would like to make a few comments, if I may. So it's been clear today that members want to debate the issue facing this council in the light of the Borden Hill appeal. I welcome the fact the administration agrees that a proactive strategy is required, specifically following my meeting with the leader on the 16th of September when I proposed that a member-led task force be established. I'm pleased to see that the Cabinet has agreed that approach. We must pull every lever possible to recover the position, and the Conservative group will act as a responsible opposition and support proactive measures, including extra budget if needed, to achieve this. I'm going to go off message a little bit. Councillor Holmes says his administration sorted out a Conservative mess about 5-year housing land supply. Looks great on a leaflet, but he's wrong. The issue last time arose because members of every single party, including the Liberal Democrats, refused to accept the evidence base in front of them around housing numbers and also made unsustainable planning decisions. Councillor Holmes clearly doesn't understand or recognise that both I and his portfolio holder are on the same page that this cannot happen again. In some ways, we're in a worse position than last time around because we don't just face rapacious developers, we face a Labour government hell-bent on taking local communities out of the decision-making process. They changed the calculation with no transition arrangements, so now more than 60% of local planning authorities are in the same position as us. They're watering down the protection for the green belt, which means it's not just the usual suspects of Bidford, Shipston, Southam, Wellesbourne. I'm looking at Ulster, I'm looking at Henley, I'm looking at Studley. They're coming for you next. The government is also going to use its powers to water down consultees like the Environment Agency. And they're also going to look at how we operate planning appeal decisions. If we lose too many planning appeals, we will have our powers taken off us. So, as members, we all stood to support our communities in resisting inappropriate and unsustainable development, but face having to have very difficult conversations with our residents. We cannot just lead people up the hill by persuading a planning committee to reject, safe in the knowledge that if the planning inspector allows the application, this will have no consequence, because it could well do. We'll also be faced in future by political parties and candidates who tell the public they can stop development completely. But we have to be the adults in the room, and we have to push back and be clear that we have to be pragmatic in achieving the best of a bad situation for our communities, while this council embarks on a proactive strategy to achieve a 5-year land supply. The message is clear that we must be honest about the challenges we face. We should be speaking to our communities now. We should be talking to our parish and town councils and our residents and be proactive about understanding what their needs are around the infrastructure that we actually need to support development. And I will go back to the South Warwickshire local plan, where when it was first enunciated, the two golden threads through it would be climate change and infrastructure. That hasn't changed. The rules of the game are changing, but we need to keep that at our heart. We have to put local communities in a position where they can be on the front foot in engaging at an early stage about sites that are acceptable and sites that are not acceptable, and what can be achieved and not. Just putting our head in the sands and saying we cannot and will not accept this is not going to fly at the planning inspectorate. So the purpose of bringing this motion forward is to start that debate so that all of us in this room, like it or not, face the reality that there are difficult choices to be made. None of us like this. None of us came into this for this. We want sustainable communities. That's not what the developers want. I once told a developer that if you can't make money building houses in this district, you're in the wrong business. Okay? They can. That's why we're going to be under more attack than Warwick or Wyre Forest, because this is like a honeypot for them. And if we're not smart, if we don't have a plan, and if we don't work together, and we're not honest with our residents,
30 seconds.
Then we will all let our residents down.
Thank you. Can I have a second? It's Councillor Littlewood.
Thank you, Chair. I'm pleased to second this motion, but reserve my right to speak later in debate. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Do I have any members that wish to speak on this? I have Councillor Coucher. Anybody else? Adam.
Councillor
Coucher.
Thank you very much, Chair. This notice of motion is timely, but I'm very pleased to see that we're already off the starting blocks. Graham Nelson produced an extremely useful report, and I would certainly recommend that all members look at that report, because it talks about all the possible ways that we can ameliorate the situation we're in. This is not a situation of our making. This is something that has been foisted on this district by this government. You may want to challenge the government, but I tell you, it'll be a wasted time doing that. We have got to look proactively, as Councillor Pemberton has said, about how can we find a solution to the dilemma that we are in. And clearly we have put forward proposals in that report which we'll be implementing. I have to say, I was very pleased that John Careford offered immediate briefing for all members on the situation. I know a number of colleagues turned up for that, and I think that was extremely useful. I certainly used those notes in talking to some of my parish councils as a result of that. You are all in the front line here, and you are the conduit for information both to and from your towns and parishes in the district, and we do need engagement all the way through. We will need to move quickly, but this is going to be not something which is going to be an instant win. We have got to have re-established our 5-year housing land supply by the time we get to a public inquiry over the South Warwickshire local plan, which will be in 2027. So we've probably got 18 months to rectify our position. We have, I think, as you'll see in Graham Nelson's report, a whole variety of areas which we can look to see how we can achieve improved housing land supply, and indeed individuals are sending me ideas as well. I had a very good one this morning about all of the empty accommodation we have above shops in our towns. Why are we not putting those forward actively to see how we can make those into habitable accommodation and not have empty accommodation? So there is a lot that we can do, and we will be doing. I will be convening a very small committee, advisory committee, to work with the planning officers going forward, to make sure that we are keeping focused on this, because I'm fully aware that our planning department is already heavily overloaded in terms of preparing the South Warwickshire local plan, which is enormously demanding and of which members have mentioned today, but also we also have an avalanche of planning applications that have come in almost surrounding all of our towns and key villages in the district. I'm pleased to say that we are planning to recruit additional officers to deal with that and to deal with the situation. But as you are all aware, recruiting planning staff is not easy because as already been mentioned, 60% of our colleagues in other districts are also in exactly the same boat. Our difference here is because building houses in Stratford is so attractive because of the property prices we have, developers will focus on this district, where I suspect in other districts, Homes England actually confirmed this to me last week, that there are many other districts in this country where frankly it's uneconomic to build houses, and therefore the development industry will be far less in that. We want sustainable development. And I agree that climate change and infrastructure is important, but also, as Councillor Parry has already highlighted today, it's also the needs of our people here in Stratford District that we need to address, be it small houses, be it cheaper houses, be it single-storey houses, whatever. We want to talk to developers who are interested in meeting our needs, not just speculative development to accommodate people from the southeast of England or other areas that want to move into the district.
30 seconds.
Thank you very much for that prompt. I can't emphasise how important this issue is for us, and anybody that thinks that we can just stop development frankly is living in cloud cuckoo land. What we need to do is to make sure that development that takes place in Stratford District benefits us all, new people, but also existing residents too. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Adam.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I mean, I reflect on some of the things that have already been said, because I do welcome the approach. The first thing I did once I received the briefing from officers who know more about planning than I is to use my position as a ward member and parish champion to reach out to my parish and town councils to make sure that the reality of the situation was plain. I think the consistent approach we need, which I'm glad to see is fairly unanimous across the chamber, is one of accepting of the situation we are in and being honest about the expectations that our communities have to face as a result. There are no benefits to sort of pointing fingers at sort of what got us here. I mean, well, apart from when it comes to the government, we can all do that. But I think that's the approach we need to take, and I welcome that from all of my colleagues here, because, again, we are the front line when it comes to our parish councils and our residents and the communities that we serve. So it's about that communication, that openness, and being frank about where we are, but also saying that we are on brand with the same message. We do want to see infrastructure in there to support our developments, to make sure that our towns and villages aren't sunk by overdevelopment without the infrastructure and amenities to back them up. So I welcome the fact that we are all speaking from the same hymn sheet, and I think that message just needs to go out across the piece. Thank you.
Councillor Junod.
Yes, can I thank our Head of Development for doing the briefing to all councillors, which I urge all councillors to take to their parish councils and make sure that they know. I certainly have taken it to 3 parish councils, and I know others have. It is absolutely crucial that everybody is brought into the consultation. But can we also advocate for those organisations that can help us on our journey? For example, we need to be able to show adequately those areas that are subject to flood risk. For example, Ulster is one of those areas that is subject to flood risk. When I used to be an advisor on one of the the West Midlands Advisory Board for the Environment Agency, and in 2009 to 10, their grant was 213.8 million. By 2022, that had been reduced to 94.3 million, and they have now, this last year, in 2022, they received another funding cut, which meant that they lost another 1,700 jobs, and their budget was slashed again by another £33 million. That we need those people to be able to help us put our plan together and make sure that we are getting the evidence and to prevent not only flood risk but also sewage discharge into rivers, etc., etc. And we've seen lots of these organisations have constant budget cuts over many, many, many years. And we need to be able to say to government of all colours, and past and present, that if we are to build an adequate future for our children and our grandchildren in this area, then we need to make sure that all of these agencies are properly funded so that we can do the proper job. It's not just this council, it is all the councils that work, all the organisations that work with it.
Councillor Crump.
Thank you, Chair. I did smile to myself when Councillor Adams said about pointing fingers at the government. I just wondered how many wanted to point, but I think we can all imagine how many. Yes, a couple of things. Infrastructure. Yeah, obviously, if we do still go down the appeal route, we have potentially significant costs, and we don't necessarily get the infrastructure that we want. I'm glad that Councillor referred to Graham Nelson's report to Cabinet. We scrutinised that quite intensely at scrutiny on the Wednesday, and I think again we're on the same side here. I think that Councillor Coach has taken on board the fact that yes, lots of other councils are in the same boat as us, so we're probably fishing in the same pool to try and get planning officers, trying to get legal officers to deal with Section 106 and planning issues. So there might be a premium we have to pay to attract that type of staff to the council. which again we would support because it has to be done. We've spoken about potential delays with our partners in response to Section 106 agreements and things like that. So where there's a possibility we can incentivise or have some service level agreements to be put in place to respond in a certain amount of time in response to some incentives from ourselves. And I'm sure with the amount of planning applications coming in, we would be having the income to fund these additional funding requirements. I take on board that we have to actively engage with our towns and parishes to find the best community intelligence for the right sites that they would be willing to accept. And I think we've also got to make sure that those sites can integrate into our community. Councillor Padgham is responsible for the flying fields too, where sometimes they do feel slightly isolated the other side of the bypass in Southam. So we do need to take that into account, how communities link in and integrate in the future. I think, again, we need to be honest and pragmatic of what we're proposing and what could possibly happen. And like I say, I think Councillor Pemberton said, and others have said, you know, when we have elections, somebody will be standing, yes, I can stop all this and, you know, vote for me sort of thing. But that's not going to wash these days. And the only other thing I would ask Councillor Coucher, I'd be interested in the makeup of the members advisory group. So any thoughts and comments on that would be helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Parry.
Thank you, Chair. As a member of the Planning Committee, I would just like to ask whether the Chair of Planning and the portfolio holder would look at the formation of the Planning Committee. In the past, we used to have 2 groups of planning committees, and the indication following last week's Planning Committee was that there was going to be a significant increase in the number of planning committees in order to assess and accommodate the additional planning applications that were coming down the line. This therefore means that perhaps they could review and look at an expansion, an extension of the planning committee, and that all members, all councillors, because of the importance of this area, need to ensure that they have planning training hours, because if we're going to have planning committees most weeks in a month, which is a possibility in 2026, we all need to make sure that we have our planning training hours and are therefore fully equipped to respond to our parishes, but also make sure that we are in good numbers to attend and appropriate substitutes are available. So if the planning portfolio holder and the planning chair would care to look at this, I think we need to make sure that we are on the front foot and not on the back foot, both in terms of numbers, expertise and training hours. Thank you.
Would you like to respond to that?
Yes, thank you. I would do as the Chair of Planning. Thank you, Councillor Parry. It was a very good question, actually. And you know that I raised that issue at the end of the planning meeting last week on Wednesday. On Thursday, myself and the Vice Chair had a meeting with John Careford and Richard Gardner to talk about that very issue, the possibility that there's going to be a step change in workload for the Planning Committee as a number of applications flush through the system and possibly more complex applications. And we discussed options to deal with that. And I'm actually about to write out to members of the Planning Committee to discuss or to give some guidance on those options to make our meetings more efficient and more effective. And we've had the great leisure over the last few months of having a great deal of time to debate applications, and we will need to be more effective in the way in which we deliberate those in future meetings. And at the moment, I can't say whether or not we're going to have to schedule more meetings. It might be that the meetings we have will have more agenda items to consider. So that's my response to that. But thank you, it's a very good question.
Thank you, Councillor Keithley. Councillor Petrovich.
Great, thank you. Just briefly, I do welcome this motion and echo everything that's been said so far. I think engagement with our communities and residents is going to be absolutely key, and I think we all have to really think about going over and beyond at this time of uncertainty, including potentially scheduling some Teams calls, which is something that I've been doing to make sure that they get the updates regularly and can also ask directly questions, which can be quite effective. My main, I guess, concern with this whole process is that our planning officers will have to obviously take into consideration the changes to the MPPF, and with the Board and Hill appeal, the tilted balance argument will potentially be more kind of heavily in favour of approving the applications. So one of the kind of key things that I would like to see reassurance on is that the South Warwickshire Local Plan, emerging South Warwickshire Local Plan, timelines won't slip, because this will be our key document and therefore our key lever to fight some of those unsustainable developments. So I would really like to have that assurance that this will be produced and completed and adopted in the timelines that were originally proposed. Thank you.
Before I go on to the last question, the 3-hour rule will be in 5 minutes. We will have done 3 hours. So due to the time and in accordance with the Constitution, a vote is needed to continue the meeting. Unless this vote is not carried, the remaining business will be considered at a time and date fixed or at the next meeting. Councillors, are you all happy to continue? Anyone against that? Thank you. In which case, Councillor Hatch.
I welcome the motion. We're actually having a public meeting on Sunday to relay all this information in Shipston, so all the publicly relayed information will be, all our community will have it, even though I've obviously sent most of it by now. But I would, a lot of the, as been mentioned before, Shipston could be 64% bigger if all these planning applications are granted. So we'd quite like, and the town council is always asking me for some more officer guidance on what kind of buildings and what infrastructure we can press for, and that is in relation to 106 agreements as well. So I suppose I'm reiterating my question, really.
Councillors, before I go back to the seconder of the motion, does anyone else wish to speak? No? In which case... Oh, Councillor Wally-Hoggins.
The stark truth is here that when a population increases, we need more houses for people to live in. That is the truth. And I was saddened, really disappointed in the Greens, but not surprised that your motion that you put here before us before this is to try to move some of our responsibility for building back towards Coventry. That's simply not... How is that fair?
We aren't debating that motion.
I know that, but what I would say, we have to face this, we have to face it strongly, and we have to do this very nimbly indeed. And at the moment, I don't get enough reassurance that we are going to be able to tackle what we're facing, because I've spoken to a couple of planning agents who contacted me. They're literally rubbing their hands with glee, and it isn't just Stratford, it's across the board in Cotswolds as well. So I want, really, I'm pressing this, it's about the third time I've said this today, what exactly are we going to do? How are you going to convey that to us and to our parishes? It's that significant, because otherwise the legacy of this council before devolution will be just an exponential amount of building work done in our green belt and countryside areas. Our residents want to know what they can do to prevent this, and that's quite a difficult question to answer. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Passingham.
Sorry, can I just quickly respond? Really, in the hierarchy of development, all parties say that brownfields should be developed first. And that was the situation before. Just in
I'm sorry, this is not part of this motion. I do apologise. Please, yes, I know, but yeah, I'm sorry. I'm going to go, unless anybody else wants to speak, I'm going to go to Councillor Littlewood as the seconder of the motion. Did you want to speak? No. Thank you. Councillor Littlewood.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, there's been a lot of interesting and very sensible comments made to address this motion. What I would urge, taking the first part, which is to inform our residents of exactly what the situation is. I think I urge all ward members, before they speak in public to residents, that they read, first of all, the NPPF. It doesn't take long. It's very clean, straightforward language, and you will find there's quite a few things in there that would counter the hysteria that might come out of this phase and period that we're going through. In addition to that, the part 2 of the South Warwickshire Local Plan lists a great number of potential development sites, but it lists them in terms of sustainability. And sustainability is one of the pillars of the new NPPF as well. So before talking to members of the public, be familiar with exactly what those words are, because at the moment, going off half-cock, assuming that developments will take place when they may not even be selected, would be wrong. And yes, of course developers will be looking to take advantage of the situation they find ourselves in. But helping, supporting parish councils and town councils to update and modernise themselves in terms of the NDP, to look at the realities of the of what the local needs are. It's important that we, as ward members, are informed ourselves before we try to inform others. So, this motion is really about exactly that. It's about helping the residents understand and working together to make sure that we maintain, as residents of our district, control. We've got 2 years before the South Warwickshire Local Plan comes into force, and we need to work hard. I also urge everybody, if you haven't already done so, read the Graham Nelson report. It is extremely straightforward, it's extremely practical, it's extremely pragmatic, and I think, having done that, the temptation to go to hysteria might be removed. So I support this motion and second it, and happy to do so. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Pemberton, as a proposer. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I think this has been a good debate. I think there is some level of understanding of the challenges that face us. There is a level of understanding of the work that faces us. And this is an opportunity for us to be the best at what we are by being community leaders, by helping our communities understand what faces them, how they can get the best out of this, to make the best of what is a bad situation that has been imposed upon us by the Labour government. I just urge you to go out there and spread the word, and we'll all work hard, and hopefully we will be in a position by the time we get to the local plan that we've gone a significant way to addressing the issue and that we're in a better place. I urge you all, therefore, to vote in support of the motion. Thank you.
Councillors, I have a proposer and a seconder. All those in favour? Anyone against? Any abstentions? That motion is carried. Thank you. Item 13, urgent business. There is no urgent business. So the next meeting, which is an extraordinary council meeting on the Monday, the 17th of November. There being no further business, I declare the council meeting closed. Oh, I want chocolate.